How's it going, everyone? NuttyNu. Today we're going to be talking about how to use an external flash on your cameras for photographies and stuff like that, pertaining more to like night photography when you're doing like low light events. This usually goes for like concerts, nightclubs, and just anywhere that requires you to use a flash. So let's get right into it. The flash that I'm using is a TT560 Speedlite. This is a really inexpensive one from Amazon, runs about 35 bucks, and it's very basic, nothing fancy. It just has your typical settings. It has like one full stop of power, and then in between of it 8 different power modes, and then it just activates when you put it onto your camera. It'll trigger it, or it has a different mode where you can put it on a tripod and then set your camera, use the flash on your camera, and once that camera flash, it will also trigger this, so you can have somebody hold it like this, and then it'll go like that. But we're not gonna talk about that method. We're gonna talk about the method where you just put it right onto your camera and go from there. And the main method that people use this way, the main method people use a external flash is they pop this thing open, and then when they shoot it, they'll just like bounce it off the lights and stuff like that. But usually there's a lot of events and concert where it's really hard to do that. So what I like to do is I like to buy this diffuser, and it comes with this Velcro, and then you basically pop this diffuser right into it, and like that. So you basically pop this diffuser on, and it just sticks on like that, and it works really good right now. And when you put this on, you can shoot directly into the client, the models, or whoever you're shooting at. And I prefer this method because you don't have to worry about where to bounce your light off. And sometimes like stadiums and events, their ceilings are like 50 feet up, so you're not gonna be able to bounce this light. Make sure when you buy a Speedlite, make sure you buy one of these diffuser. Even if you don't plan on using it, at least it's good to have one just in case. Let's talk about settings, and let's go over settings on how to set your settings first. So the main thing about these Speedlite is that the purpose of these Speedlite is that you're not supposed to use it to its full power. So if you're taking a photo at its full power and it doesn't have a fast recharge time, you might not be able to get the next photo quick. So you want to use I usually use about half power, so it has a quick recharge time. Because if I use half power, I can shoot like maybe 3 or 4 photos simultaneously until it has to like recharge, and usually it takes like 10 seconds or so. Don't try to use full power at your time and just because you want to keep your ISO down. So what I like to do is, let's take example, if I'm in a night concert, I usually like to do like maybe ISO 640, ISO 800. I try to stick under ISO 800 for sure, because I know that under 800 I can still manage it really nice without getting any noise and stuff like that. So I try to stick under 800. I try to use a wide angle lens, because usually for like concerts, events like that, you're not doing single people, you're trying to take like group photos. People are out there having fun with their friends. They're just gonna pull their friends when you take out your camera. They're like, okay, yeah, I want to take a photo, let me get my other friends, and then pretty soon you have like 4 or 5 people. So try to have a wide angle lens. It's good to have a fast lens, like a 2.8 lens, 1.8 lens if you have it. But honestly, this kit lens, the fastest is a 3.5 at 16 mil, and it does pretty good. So I like to use a wide angle lens, 16 mil for stuff like that, so I can get group photos, keep my ISO under 800. And then as far as f-stop, I actually like to keep my f-stop around 5.6, or even like sometimes f6, depending on how big the group is. If it's just like 2 people, then I'll probably just shoot like 3.5. But if it gets to like group of where it's 4 or 5 people, you usually want to shoot around like f5.6, just so that everybody's is in focus and you don't have like 2 people in focus and the rest of the 2 people on the other side, they start to blur off and stuff like that. So don't worry about aperture, don't worry about depth and stuff like that when it comes to like event coverage, unless you're shooting one person and you want to keep depth and have that bokeh. But usually when it's group and stuff like that, you want to capture everybody, you want to capture the background and just kind of show the vibe and stuff like that. As far as shutter speed, one thing you guys got to know is that with these external flash, you can't be shooting like shutter speed 500, because it's not going to sync properly unless you're using like a high speed sync, which is a whole different setup. So usually with these, you want to stick with like 1/25 of a second or something like that if you want to freeze the motion. So let's take for example, like when I was filming 12th Planet, people were dancing and stuff like that, and even at 1/25, it was fast enough to freeze most of the motion, and also some of the shots were slowed were like blurred out, where people were dancing and then their hands would be blurred out. So don't use fast shutter speed like anything above 200. To be honest, most of these will limit you at 200. To be honest, once you install this, your camera will usually limit you to a certain shutter speed, and you can't go beyond that. What happens if you go over like a fast shutter speed and you review your photo, you'll have like half of your image fully light up and then the bottom half or the top half blacked out, because your shutter speed is moving so fast that it wasn't able to get all that light into it. It wasn't able to expose that other half of the photo. So that's what happens, and that's one way to troubleshoot. If you're getting photos like that, that means you need to slow down your shutter speed. And also, when you're shooting concert and stuff like that, don't be scared to use like a slower shutter speed. Like when we did 12 Planet, people were raving. Now there was like cool lights and stuff like that, and I got my shutter speed down to like 1/25th, 1/50th of a second, and it looks really dope. It looks like they're on LSD, and there was like a lot of motion blur, but at the same time, like a good part of their body was still like frozen up. So it's good to get creative depending on what you're doing. What I usually like to do is I'll set those settings. I'll set the ISO, the aperture, the shutter speed, and then I'll take a test shot of somebody, and then I'll go ahead and adjust my power. So the way these power work is that the highest bar is usually like one full stop of light. So you get one full stop, and then after that you get half of it, and then after that you get half of that. So I have like one stop, half of that, a quarter, eighth, 16, 32, 64, and 1/20th of a power. So the best way is just to set your in-camera settings, and after that adjust your Speedlite to it. Or what you can do is you can adjust your Speedlite to half power, take a photo, and then you can adjust your camera settings as far as f-stop and ISO and stuff like that. To be honest, I don't like to shoot anything too high of an ISO, because I'm not a big fan of noisy photos unless I want the photos, unless I already have intention before shooting to have like cool noise and keep it grainy and keep it a film look. So make sure you keep the ISO like under 800, and you should be able to get some really clean photos. And the things that with these flash, when you take photos of people and stuff like that, they might be fully light up and the background might be all blacked out. So that's just something you got to take into consideration, is that this thing won't be able to light the whole background unless you have other lights set up in sync with it. And the other thing that we need to talk about is how do you focus? How do you focus on your subject when it's dark and stuff like that? That was one of the biggest issue I had when I was filming and stuff like that. It was like completely blacked out, and I was trying to focus, and like literally like the subject was blacked out and the camera had issue hunting and stuff like that. And what I first did was like I was manually focusing, taking a shot and making sure it was in focus, and I had to do it again. I had to do like 4 or 5 times, and it starts to get really embarrassing, because then like the talent or the model is like, does this photographer know what the heck he's doing? So what I recommend is have a native lens. So if you're shooting Sony, make sure you're using Sony lens, just so that it's working properly. Because I was shooting the Sony lens with the Sigma 1835, and it's horrible for focus and photo mode. So use a Sony lens or use a native lens, and sometime what you'll have to do is you have to use like your phone. So what you'll do is you'll just grab your phone, and your phone usually has like a flashlight, and what you can do is you can just like flash at your talent and then focus, and then pull off your flash and then snap the photo and then check it real quick. So it's kind of nice if you have an assistant. If you're doing like a paid gig and you have like an assistant, it's nice to have your assistant that next to you and just have them shine it. But sometimes you honestly don't, and that's usually me. I'm just doing like a running gun. It's just usually me most of the time, and you can flash it. A lot of other people talk about having like a laser. They'll carry a laser with them, and then they'll point the laser like not at the eyes, but like at their face. But I find that kind of it's a bit dangerous, and it just doesn't look professional. So I usually just carry my phone, or if you want to carry like a small pocket flashlight and just flash it at them. Luckily, most of the events that I've done, they were like light shows. They have like cool, crazy light show, and they weren't completely blacked out where the the subjects or the models are completely blacked out. So it's working really good. Whenever I'm doing flash photography, I always tell my model that, hey, this is just a test shot. Let me do a quick test shot, and I'll do a test shot, and then I'll check the photo and make sure if it's underexposed or overexposed or whatever the case may be, then I'll adjust it, and then I'll take another shot, and if it looks good, I'll take another insurance shots, and then I'll just be like, hey, let's take another fun shot, and then it just makes them feel a little bit more like confidence in you that, oh yeah, he got the shot, and oh, he actually knew what he was doing, so that's why we're taking another fun shot and stuff like that. So it's always fun to just tell them that you're doing the test shots versus just taking a shot and then, oh, we need to do one more, oh, we need to do one more, oh, let's do one more, and then that's when they'll just start downing you as a photographer and be like, is this guy a pro? But yeah, so those are all my tips that I have so far. It's really easy once you get the hang of it. Really, this type of photography is more of, you gotta practice until you know what you're doing. So really, if you're not out there practicing, you're not gonna learn anything at all. And it's good to practice in your room, and then it's also good to practice like at a different venue. So it's good for you to go out. So whenever you're going out to a restaurant where maybe it's dark and stuff like that, just bring your flash and take photos and stuff like that, or just try out different venue and get different scenarios. That's why I always go out a lot and like practice my photography or my videography, so that when it comes to the real job, I'm fully confident and I'm not like, oh snap, what did I do? So those are all my tips. If you guys got any questions, or if you guys have any other tips you guys want to add on to this video, drop it in the comment section below so other people can read it and learn from this together, and we can all learn together as a community. I'll see you guys next time. Make sure you guys subscribe. Bye bye.